Hope all of you are having a great day. Sorry, I'm having a cold, so my voice may not be great, so I'll try my best. So I'll talk about building e-commerce for the next 500 million, billion, I think whatever number you use, I think the strategy is very similar. And a lot of this is from my own sort of learnings of being at Meesho for the last 3 years. Yeah. Quickly a little bit about myself. So right now I oversee all our product development efforts at Meesho. I've spent quite a bit of time in the e-commerce industry in India over the last 7-8 years. I've worked at Amazon, Flipkart, and also very passionate about product management, leadership, very actively speak about these topics. And prior to getting into e-commerce, I was a management consultant. So a lot of what I discussed today is just from my own sort of learnings from the e-commerce industry. So a little bit of intro of Meesho. I'm sure many of you have heard of it. Some of you may have shopped from it. So Meesho is today the fastest growing e-commerce player in India, right? And also probably the youngest e-commerce player which has reached such large scale. Sorry, some of the slides seem distorted, so sorry for that. Format changing. But I'll try to clarify wherever that's the problem. I think at Meesho, the last maybe about 2.5, 3 years have been absolute hyper growth, right? Today, in terms of scale, we are the third largest e-commerce player in India, very close to the top 2 as well. And if you look at GMV, if you look at annual transacting users, right, all of them have grown very, very significantly, 10 times, 20 times, et cetera, in the last couple of years. So it's massive scale. Just to give you a sense, today we have more than, I think, 120 annual transacting customers on the platform. Right? Last few years also have been very good for Meesho in terms of just getting a lot of recognition globally and within India as well. So if you look at the chart in the middle, so this shows the top downloaded consumer apps in the world in 2021, right, in the world. And if you see the list, almost all of them, except Meesho, are social media, messaging, those kinds of apps, the things that people use very regularly. TikTok, Instagram, Telegram, WhatsApp, Snapchat, Spotify, etc. Meesho was number 6 in this, only e-commerce app in the world to feature in the top 10 most downloaded apps in the world. Right? So this was 2021. Now the third one is more our Indian Google Play Store. So we've been number 1 on Google Play Store for the longest time. I can't even remember how long, maybe 2 years. Always we are number 1. All of this just shows that there is something that Meesho has done, which has unlocked a very big e-commerce market and also grown very, very fast. And also is some way a vindication of the fact that e-commerce in India is just beginning. I think while many of the e-commerce companies started in 2010, 2007, around that time, still we are very, very early. There is such a big market to be unlocked. And whatever Meesho has done in the last 3 years is just one sort of indication of that. Now, I'll talk a little bit about the retail industry in India, and I'm sure many of you are broadly aware of it. So even if you take a 2025 view, which is just a few years away from now, India will still be largely an unorganized retail market, right? So what do I mean by unorganized? So I'll say what organized is, and then everything else is unorganized. So organized retail is basically branded goods that sell through branded channels, right? Like supermarkets, hypermarkets, or even e-commerce platforms that all of you buy from. The branded goods that you buy from that, all of that is organized retail. Unorganized retail is everything else, which is long tail, unbranded items being sold through kirana stores, mom and pop stores, even through platforms like Meesho, and I'll talk more about that. So that entire pie of unorganized retail, even in the near future, is going to be the largest part of retail in India, right? While this 80% would have been sort of slightly smaller earlier, but now with more of branded penetration increasing, that share has changed, but still the demographics of the country are such that this is going to be the largest opportunity. I think that's the first thing to keep in mind. If you look at the numbers, again, retail in India, $1.3 trillion opportunity. If you look at the first pie on the top, which is organized, and second one is unorganized. So organized is 300 billion out of this 1,300. Unorganized is much larger, 1,000. The important thing to note is the online penetration. See, online penetration in organized retail is 35%. So this is what has happened since 2007-8 when some of the bigger e-commerce players that we buy from started, right? And they have taken share, and they've helped sort of digitally transform retail. But if you look at the unorganized retail, the long tail unbranded items that a lot of India buys, so there the online penetration is only 10%. And almost all of this penetration is Meesho, right? But what this also shows is that the opportunity and the headroom for this 10% to become much larger is very, very high, and the overall pie is also much larger here, which means that anybody who's building an e-commerce business focused on unorganized retail, if they're able to figure out the right strategy, can build the largest e-commerce player in the country without any doubt. Now I'll spend a bit of time on this. So what has been Meesho's strategy? And I think when Meesho started, I think some of you may remember, this is 2016-17 time, so about 5 years back. We were actually not a horizontal e-commerce player. We were known as a social commerce startup, which meant that we were leveraging this model called reselling, which is there are people, enterprising individuals who are connected to their friends, family on WhatsApp, Facebook, and they were influencing those people to buy something. It's like social selling, right? And Meesho was enabling these individuals to sell to other people, right? That's why the word social commerce started. And that's how the company started growing. But in the last few years, we pivoted from social commerce to core e-commerce, right? And that's when this hyper growth and everything else, scale, et cetera, has happened. And the broad strategy there, there are a lot of elements to any strategy, any winning strategy. But if I have to simplify, there are broadly two things. I'll start with the second one first, which is Bharat. And I've used this word, and I'll talk about what that means. So India, like all of you know, is a very heterogeneous country. It's actually should not be a single country. It's like 25, 30 countries put into one, which means that there is a lot of diversity, a lot of heterogeneity, a lot of income disparity, and a lot of organized retail, organized e-commerce has largely focused on the top 5-10% of that entire population, right? So the rest of the folks who are digitally native, active today, but still don't engage in commerce. That is like 400 million, 500 million. It's a huge population. And all of those people are low to mid-income segment folks. Most of them are in tier 2, 3, and beyond geographies in the country. So to me, that is Bharat, right? And just to put this in perspective, like again, these are some numbers all of you will know. Smartphone internet penetration in India is 750 million. Largest digital product in India is probably WhatsApp with some 500 or 550 million users. Whereas if you see all of the people who buy from e-commerce, that I think will be 150 to 200 million, which means that there are so many people using smartphone internet and WhatsApp and YouTube, but they're not buying online. And that's the opportunity. And if you see who those people are, they're all in Bharat. They are not in, maybe very few are in Bangalore. And most of them are in tier 2 and beyond geographies, low to mid income, people who buy from small shops, people who can't afford things beyond their means, people who don't buy branded stuff. They buy your long tail items which come at a cheaper price point. So that is Bharat, right? So one of our winning strategy has been to focus on Bharat, not so much on India, right? Because there are other players who are serving India very well. We said, why don't we look at this? I think the second element of the strategy, which also ties in with Bharat, is also, again, in very, very simple terms, if I have to put it, it's called price over convenience. So typically e-commerce, especially for India, like for all of you sitting here, the reason why you buy anything online, for the most part, is convenience, right? It gets delivered fast. You can make a transaction very quickly. If you don't like the item, you can return it easily. You have a lot of payment methods which are convenient to you. So typically, all of us buy online for convenience. Obviously, price matters. So we also hunt for deals, we like discounts and so on. But the essence of why people shifted from offline to online, especially in India, is actually convenience. And most of the e-commerce players who've sort of become big have focused on a convenience over price strategy, if I put it in terms of trade-off. Whereas our strategy is exactly the opposite, which means that we believed and we understood from a lot of these Bharat customers that they're extremely value conscious because of the fact that they're low to mid income. If they can find what they want at the price point at which they want, they're okay with not having much convenience. So they don't want one-day delivery, two-day delivery. They don't want the most seamless returns experience or the most seamless customer support experience. Because and this is one of the most interesting anecdotes I heard from a customer when I was doing interviews with them was, hey, why don't you give this to me $20 cheaper? You can ship it to me 3 days later, no problem. So the trade-off between price and convenience is very lopsided. And this is what we figured out, right? So our strategy is focused on this. So focusing on Bharat with a price over convenience strategy at the highest level is why we are winning, right? There are other elements as well which I'll cover, but I think this is very, very important to understand. And I do believe that if you have to penetrate e-commerce more and more and more, in some ways I think this strategy has to be got right by any player who wants to do this. What is also interesting many times is there are a lot of barriers to adoption of e-commerce. Like if you ask the general question that, hey, why are these Bharat people not buying from the big e-commerce players? It's not an awareness gap, right? Everybody has advertised so much that I don't think anybody in India doesn't know about the household e-commerce companies. It's not a delivery network problem either. Almost all of the serviceable pin codes in the country are serviced by all these e-commerce players. So there is something else. There is something else why, because of which people don't sort of buy from there. And the big barrier is this sort of notion that these platforms are not built for me, right? When I go to that app, it doesn't look like something that I can buy from, right? And when I say I here, and this you can find, these people you can find in Bangalore. So one of the things I do always is talk to my housemaid. She buys only from Meesho. She doesn't buy from any other app. So I ask her, like, why are you buying from only Meesho? You see so many ads of other companies. वहाँ पे जब जाती हूँ तो देख के लगता है कि मेरे लिए नहीं है ये, right? So that is the barrier. So and what she's saying is that the kind of things that you're selling, the price point at which you're selling, the value proposition, the general feel, like that is much more tailored to me. I feel like I can buy from here, whereas people who are much richer can buy from somewhere else, right? So I think that's sort of the core distinction to understand. Now, apart from just the business strategy, see, no business strategy alone can help you crack a market, right? And especially a heterogeneous market like India, I think it's very important to understand from a product standpoint what is different, right? And because if you have to do it at the scale of hundreds of millions of people, all of these people have to use the app and buy online. One very interesting stat, by the way, is at Meesho, more than 50% of our new customers are new to e-commerce. So the company that has increased the penetration of e-commerce in India in the last 3 years has been Meesho, right? For any other e-commerce player, this number will be in low single digits, which means that they're probably sort of still attracting consumers from India. They're still stealing market share from each other, but growing the market in terms of penetrating India more and more, I think this stat is very telling. And how have we been able to do it from a product lens, right? I'll just talk about a few things. And all of these are very interesting concepts. So first one is discovery-led versus intent-led commerce, right? So I'll explain what this means. So most of e-commerce, like all of you, the way you buy, for the most part is you'll go to the app, you'll search for what you want. So you have an intent. You know in your mind that I want to buy something, right? And then you'll search, you'll find a bunch of things, you'll compare based on whatever you value, whether it's price, delivery speed, the features of the item, whatever, right? And then you buy. That's most of how we do shopping. But if you go to Bharat, the Bharat user segment, most of them don't shop like that. There, the shopping behavior is more discovery-led, which means that sometimes they have no intent to exactly buy something. It's like, I want to buy a sari, right? It's not a very specific intent. It's a very broad thing. There are like millions of saris, right? How do you figure out what to buy? So a lot of their buying decision making comes through discovering things on almost on an impromptu basis, which means that your entire product has to be built not so much around search being very accurate, search should be accurate, but more around how you merchandise different things, what are the different feeds you have on the app, how can you generate impulse, how can you create inspiration for them to look at something and buy, right? So it's a very browsing, discovery-led shopping as opposed to a very intent-led, search-led shopping, right? And this is true for almost all of the categories that we sell. I'll talk about more details. So that's one important differentiator. I think the second one is shopping as entertainment versus it being just transactional. Again, most of the shopping apps, the way we do shopping is all transactional. We don't have time. Some of us are millennials. We have so many other things to do. We just get it done with, right? But a lot of these users, that's not the problem. They have all the time in the world, right? And a lot of them just browse, for example, Meesho app endlessly with nothing in mind for few hours a day, right? And a lot of them look at this as entertainment. It's like they'll find something, they'll share it with their cousin, they'll then discuss, then they'll sort of buy. They also like all these things that are gamified in nature, etc. Right? So making shopping more entertainment rather than just being transactional. So this is something, again, we discovered over a period of time through many experiments, but this is another very, very big differentiator. The third one is made for Bharat versus India. So again, I'll cover some nuances, but the fact that the market is so heterogeneous, languages are very different, people use low-end smartphones, they don't have enough storage space on the phone. Like, how do you solve all of those problems through technology? I think that's important. Last one, equally important again, is personalization, right? Which is one size fits all will not work at all, right? Again, purely because of the heterogeneity, the spread in income segments, like how do you solve all these problems? So these are, in my mind, the four biggest product-led differentiators that I think we have built, which has helped us crack this market till now. I'll talk about each of them. Again, some of this may not be very clear. I'll try to explain. So I spoke about discovery-led commerce, right, which is the browsing sort of behavior versus searching behavior. So if you see, and these are some screenshots from the Meesho app. So the first one is just like there are a lot of infinite feeds in the app, which is you open the app, you keep on browsing. And most other e-commerce apps are not like this. And even in our home page, by the way, the thing that you see on the left, products for you, it's a product feed on the home page. Most other apps won't have a product feed on the home page. They'll have different widgets. You click on something, then you go into something else. Whereas here it's directly browsing, right? So because that is what people want. They want to endlessly keep browsing. They'll find something interesting, they'll buy that. Then the other thing that is very, very big on Meesho is what we call product recommendations of all different varieties, which is, as a customer, you last time viewed some item, you put it in your cart, but you didn't buy. Next time when you come, a lot of those will be recommended to you. Suppose you're buying something, but there are other things that go along with it, right? So we will recommend those, right? So basically, again, leveraging the trend of people serendipitously discovering things, right? How do you make that happen more and more and more, right? And a lot of data science and machine learning algorithms go into all of these recommendation constructs. The third one, and this is also quite unique. So most of e-commerce, the way it happens today, the e-commerce company is at the forefront. The seller who's selling is not at the forefront. Like if I ask any of you, where did you buy your mobile phone from? I'm sure you will say Amazon or Flipkart, but you will not know the name of the seller who actually is selling because those are marketplaces, right? So one thing which is unique on Meesho is the seller's identity is much more upfront. So the page that you see here, Denim Art Fashions, is the seller on Meesho. So people can discover items of that seller. And what we've found is a lot of customers have affinity to specific sellers, and this is replicating offline behavior. In offline world, you keep going to the same shop if you once bought and you liked the experience, right? But that is lost in the online world because of the way e-commerce has evolved. So this is something that we have started to change, right? So we see a lot of loyalty of customers going to specific sellers' shops and buying. And even here we have infinite feeds and different ways to discover things. Shopping as entertainment. this one, again, there are many, many things, and this is something that Meesho has done much more than probably any other player. So first thing that you see there, this is actually something we're going to scale soon, is live streaming. This is live streaming shopping. We call it live commerce internally, which is taking a different approach to shopping itself, right? Everybody is used to shopping through looking at images, right? That's how all of us have shopped till now. But what if you can shop by watching a video live where a creator or a seller on the other side is demoing the product? This is what happens in offline shop. If you want to go buy a sari, somebody shows you the sari, somebody puts it on you literally, right? And you look at it in the mirror. So this is a digital version of that. You can chat with that seller as well. You can also see how many other people are watching the live stream. You can see other people's comments also. And whatever is being demoed, you can see all those products at the bottom in the scroll and you can buy immediately, right? So this is live streaming. So this is something that I think is showing very promising signs. We're going to scale this. So this is entertainment. This is like 30, 45 minutes watching a video to buy, right? This is not the normal shopping behavior that any of us are used to. The other thing which is very unique, the second one is Meesho Community. So this is basically some version of social media within e-commerce. So in the Meesho app, if you see, a lot of customers who buy different things, they will put the images of that as posts, almost like a Facebook post, saying, hey, I bought this. Other people will come and like, yeah, it's very good. I also want to buy, right? So a lot of that engagement keeps happening in that community. So basically, this is a way of building trust on what to buy through social validation from other people. So the way Instagram or Facebook work, this is a commerce version of that, right? So this is something very active on Meesho. The other thing which we've again recently launched, which we saw, is that a lot of these Bharat customers, by the way, if you look at the time that they spend in a day, we analyze that very rigorously on what apps are they spending time on. One of the highest is on gaming apps, right? They get hooked on to it. So what we did was, hey, can we get some of that gaming behavior into our app and get them to spend more time on this app? And if you play a game, you win some reward. Suppose you get some cashback or coins as a reward from playing a game. You can redeem that as a discount to buy an item. So we've linked sort of gaming and commerce together, right? And this is showing great engagement. Again, this is entertainment. This is not just shopping for its own sake. The last one, again, the thing is muddled a bit there. This is journey. So this is another version of gamification. So what you see there is like a progressive milestone linked reward sort of thing, right? So this is again like if you do a certain bunch of activities on the app, you earn points and then you cross levels. This is like a game. So if you opened the app 5 times, or if you placed an order, or if you did things which help you in shopping, you're earning points and you're moving from one level to the other. As you move from one level to the other, you earn reward. And again, you can use that reward to redeem while shopping. So again, linking gamification and commerce together. All of this makes this app more entertainment. This is not just a pure transactional thing. This is what drives a lot of engagement. Another tidbit is one of the ways to measure engagement for any digital product is what the metric that we use is DAU by MAU, daily active user divided by monthly active user, which means if 100 people use your app in a month, how many of them are using daily? This is a strongest measure of depth of engagement. Meesho has the highest DAU by MAU of any e-commerce app in the country because of a lot of these things. People are hooked to things, and that eventually translates to shopping. Then made for Bharat. So this is basically trying to understand the unique constraints of these low to mid-income users in far-flung geographies. I think one is obviously memory size on the phone. So Meesho is the lowest sized e-commerce app, or actually even consumer app. It is 15 MB on Play Store. Any other app would be upwards of 50 MB. And this actually removes the friction for downloading the app, because a lot of the people don't have space. They're not using iPhones. They're using very low-end Android phones. And we did a lot of technology work to actually make this happen. This is not non-trivial optimization. The other thing, I think this has now become more and more standard. Our app is there in 8 languages, so people are not comfortable with English. They can obviously use other languages. A couple of other unique things. What we realize is a lot of these Bharat users also are not very savvy with or used to reading things. They don't like reading. They like listening. They like watching. So a lot of the usage of voice search on the app is very high. So instead of typing a search text, you basically say, "Mujhe sari dikhao," right? And search results will come. Similarly, image search. This is another big thing. So again, a lot of these Bharat users, they spend a lot of time on Instagram. They will see photos of somebody wearing some kurta, which is very nice. So they can copy the image from there, put it into the search box. So this is an image search. It's not a text search. Because how do you describe the kurta you like in words? It's impossible, right? So we were the first e-commerce app to actually start image search, and this is taking off massively. Right? Again, just showing that these users are very, very different from all of us sitting in this room. Right? So how do you build a product which actually solves the real problems? The last thing I'll cover is personalization, and I know this sort of has become a buzzword these days. Everybody says everything is personalized. But in essence, I think for us, personalization is very important, largely because the purview of this Bharat user base is very broad in terms of geographies, languages, preferences. The festivals are so different across different parts of the country. So everything from the way you show the assortment, the ranking in which it is showed, the sorting order, all of that has huge scope to be personalized to every user. So a couple of simple examples of personalization that have worked very well. The most obvious is region-based personalization, which is, suppose you have a seller who's selling from Surat, right? And there's a customer in Delhi, there is a customer in Bangalore or Chennai. Now, shipping the item from Surat to each of these locations is very different. The cost of shipping is very different. But if you don't personalize, both of them see the same price. So there is no benefit of being closer to the supply. So what region-based personalization does is, as a customer, if you are closer, then you get a cheaper price from that seller. Whereas the person who's farther away gets a higher price. And that person can then choose another seller who's closer by, right? So all of this, again, you have to make happen at hundreds of millions scale in real time. That's where I think a lot of this personalization comes. And there's a lot of user interaction-based personalization, which means, hey, what are the things that you clicked on? If you spent more than X seconds watching something, viewing some item, then we know that you have some interest on this. So next time when you open the app, almost everything changes for you compared to somebody else, right? So today in the Meesho app, almost every page is very different for you versus me, right? Depending on what behavior we have shown. So a lot of this, again, drives relevance to the user, makes them then come back again and again, spend more time, because they find everything is relevant. By the way, we have 70 million listings on the app, 70 million items that we sell, 70 million. So of those 70 million, how can any human being figure out what are the 10, 15 things I'm interested in, right? So the technology has to do that job. And this is the difference between a conventional retail and e-commerce, where your assortment has to be personalized. There is no other option for it to be very relevant for these users. So yeah, so these were some insights I just want to share. Hopefully this was helpful. Thank you. Any questions? I'm happy to take it.
Thank you. Thank you. And we'll just take one question because you're running absolutely short of time. Yeah.
Sorry for taking up too much time.
No worries. Yeah.
Sure, it's a good question. So just to maybe clarify, this personalization is not at a cohort level. This is personalization at the cohort of 1, if you want to take that. So this data science, these algorithms work very differently. So there is no definition of a cohort. It is more like, if I have to show a bunch of items in a certain order, then what variables should I use to rank that feed? And in that set of variables, there will be some hundreds of variables. There will be a few variables which are linked to the user. For example, which location are you from? What language do you speak? What is your income if you have that data? Second is, so those are static demographic signals. Then the other set of signals are interaction signals. What did you do last time when you came to the app? How much time did you spend on this item versus that? What is your category affinity to one versus the other? So it's all sort of cohort of 1. So it's not like a broad cohort. It's not like these are fashion customers, right? It's more like for every customer we have that profile, and then the data science algorithm will do its job while ranking. So just want to clarify that. Now coming to the trade-off between that and discoverability, I don't know if it's even a trade-off in the sense that the reason why we are doing this is because we believe that this is going to make things more relevant for you, right? And this we have seen in all our experiments, the conversion increases dramatically. Maybe the different trade-off to think about, which we call in product management terms as explore versus exploit, as we call it, right? Which is showing the things that people are interested in will make them buy more. But how do you get them interested in new things? So getting them interested in new things is explore. Leveraging the fact that you already like something and you will buy more is called exploit. So suppose you launched a new category on the app. You obviously don't have any data that somebody is interested in that category. So then if you just did exploit, you will never show anything of that category to that person. So you have to also explore, right? So the way this gets solved in data science is everything, maybe another definition to understand is user attention is measured by something. We measure it by views. One customer viewing one item is a view, right? So that is a currency of user attention. Then what you do is you basically figure out how much percentage of my views I'm getting should I spend on exploit versus how much should I spend on explore for every customer, right? So then you start optimizing from there. So to me, it's sort of not really, the discoverability is not the trade-off. The trade-off is exploiting your already existing interests versus creating new interests within you. Yeah. Okay, thank you.